June is Pride Month in America, a time to celebrate queer culture and commemorate the start of the LGBTQ rights movement over 50 years ago. And as national demonstrations against police violence continue to roil, the causes of Black Lives Matter and Pride are starting to merge. Last weekend, protesters in New York gathered to demand protection for Black transgender women who are disproportionately the victims of violent crime. According to organizers, the rally drew over 15,000 protesters to the streets, all wearing white in solidarity with the movement. And then on Monday, the Supreme Court ruled in a rare 3-6 decision that Title VII of the Civil Rights Act protecting workers from discrimination on the basis of race or sex also protects the LGBTQ community. In the majority opinion, Trump appointee Justice Neil Gorsuch wrote, "An employer who fires an individual merely for being gay or transgender defies the law." It's a major milestone for LGBTQ rights and a sign of what's possible with sustained activism and political pressure. There's a lot to be learned from the progress of the LGBTQ rights movement. So today we celebrate the ground taken.
Protest is essential. We wouldn't have had gay marriage, we wouldn't have had a gay rights movement without Stonewall.
And turn our attention to the work that still lies ahead.
Nobody is comfortable right now, but on the other side of being uncomfortable is change.
Plus, we're celebrating Juneteenth.
I'm on a mission to make Juneteenth a national holiday, and I think I'm getting there.
All that coming up on More in Common. I'm staying outside the Stonewall Inn, the site of the 1969 demonstration against the brutal treatment of LGBTQ people by police here in New York. The demonstrations, which became known as the Stonewall Riots, marked the beginning of the gay pride movement. Years later, the cause of gay rights has been greatly advanced, but there's still a long way to go, especially when it comes to protecting people like Marsha P. the Black trans woman widely credited with throwing the first brick here at Stonewall over 50 years ago.
In so many ways, the confluence of this Black Lives Matter moment and Pride is actually taking Pride back to its roots. Because of course it originally started as anti-police brutality sort of fight back by the queer community. All of these movements are actually interconnected. We know that Bayard Rustin, who organized the March on Washington, himself was a Black gay man. Protest is essential. We wouldn't have had gay marriage, we wouldn't have had a gay rights movement without Stonewall and 3 nights of real rioting in New York. And this bar was targeted because cops thought that it was an easier target given the fact that many of the patrons and the people that were here were Black and brown, were people of color. And they thought it was an easier target than other white bars, and so this is why it was raided. There's no agreement about who actually threw the first brick or Molotov cocktail here, but there is wide agreement that people like Marsha P. Sylvia Rivera, Stormy De La Verre, Miss Major, all of them were in the vanguard that night. And what's been fascinating is the way in which, even though Black and brown trans women started Stonewall, as you said, have been steadily erased from the movement, mostly by white gay men just 4 years after they started the movement. That erasure was not an accident, it was deliberate.
The rainbow flag, there's a lot of talk of adding a black and brown stripe to that flag, and some are flying that. How do you feel about that?
Adding those colors back to the flag actually is symbolizing re-including people who were excluded and left out. The violence against Black trans women, who are the most marginalized of the marginalized, is to such an extreme degree that the American Medical Association has declared it to be an epidemic. In a Black Lives Matter moment in the city and region where it started in Minneapolis, St. Paul, Iana Dior, a Black trans woman, who, with those very same people who are calling for people to say that Black Lives Matter and that their lives matter as Black men, set upon this Black trans woman, cornered her, and savagely beat her. We need to center Black trans women's lives through policies, through institutional changes, through visibility, in order to close the gap and to make sure that we have a truly inclusive society for everybody. Everywhere there are trans people, everywhere there are LGBTQ people, whether or not you realize it. And so if you want to help, if you want to be an ally, first find out those places and organizations that are in your state. The second thing that you can do is something that everyone can do, which is to create welcoming environments wherever you are. There's something that everyone can do, and it's right in front of you.
LGBTQ rights and organized religions haven't always gone hand in hand, but this pastor in San Antonio, Texas is on a mission to change that.
We say at our church, God's love is for everyone. And we want to make sure that those who've been told they're not welcome at God's table, that is a message from humanity. But the message from God is that all are welcome. If you say that you love God, whom you have never seen, how are you going to say that you hate your sisters and brothers whom you see every day? We embrace and do our best to live into the reality of loving our neighbors because we believe that's the highest commandment. It's important that those of us who have been through the wars, so to speak, that we own that reality, we own that truth. We paid the price to be able to say it loud, I'm Black and I'm proud. To be able to say, here I am, a same gender loving Black man in the 21st century, and that's not all of who I am, but it is certainly a part of who I am. I remember saying to the pastor who was going to look at opportunities for me, I don't want to go anywhere where I'm going to have to fight for my identity. So let's not go to Texas, let's not go to any place in the South. And he said, well, I think you would be a great fit for San Antonio. And I said, San Antonio where? And he said, San Antonio, Texas. Why don't you talk to some people who live there? And it was a revelation. First of all, I've never been called sir so many times in my life. It's just that inherent warmth for welcoming strangers. And I found that to be not only endearing, but I found that to be very comforting. They convinced me that San Antonio was a haven of graciousness, a haven of welcome, a haven of hospitality, and I have found it to be so since I've been here. Pride is not only about feeling good. Pride is about coming together so that we can do good together. When we unite in purpose, when we stand for justice for all people, when we say that God's love is for everyone, that's for me what pride is about.
Coming up,
I've been to rodeos when I was younger where they wouldn't let me compete being openly gay. So when the gay rodeo came about, jump on it immediately.
In common, we love people who fly in the face of stereotypes. So when we heard there was some gay cowboys and cowgirls throwing a rodeo in the heart of Texas, we knew we had to check it out.
Our 2019...
For people who don't know, what is the gay rodeo?
Years ago, gay cowboys and cowgirls were ostracized and not allowed to compete, so they created the International Gay Rodeo Association so that gay and lesbian cowboys could compete and what we love without being ridiculed, ostracized, or put into danger.
We actually originated because of HIV and the need to help as we were watching our friends die off.
It's everything around the rodeo is designed to raise money to help various charities.
We have people all the way from Pennsylvania, North South Carolina, California who hauled horses to compete.
I've been to rodeos when I was younger where they wouldn't let me compete being openly gay. I've been beat up more than one time. I kept going because I love rodeo, but at some point you get tired of being pushed around. And so when the gay rodeo came about, jump on it immediately.
A lot of the guys here seem to have nicknames. Why is that?
In our everyday life, some of us still have to be closeted. I compete under Jameson Cole as an assumed name. 2 years ago, I lost a job because a parent at the school that I taught at complained that I was gay, and the superintendent let me go. And she found out because I was in the newspaper for the gay rodeo. I spent about 8.5 months without a job, living off my savings, and I ended up having to move 3.5 hours away into Dallas so that I could work in a school system that was inclusive, and I kind of changed to a performance name so that I wouldn't run into that situation again.
Obviously coming to a smaller town like we're in Denton, Texas this year, and they're very open arms about this. Where we couldn't back in that day, there's no way we would come to an arena like this.
Gay, straight, man, woman, transgender, we have drag queens out there wrestling, steer. Whoever you are, you want to come in and rodeo, you want to get your boots dirty with us, come on through. Old, young, doesn't matter.
I would go on a limb and say there have been gay cowboys since the beginning of time.
The one thing is, I don't think people do realize that a gay community does anything that a heterosexual community does as well, that there is no difference between the two, whether you're gay or straight. A lot of us have kids. We have a 21-year-old daughter. That really is what we're all in common about. It's the same thing. Barrel racers or barrel racers, doesn't matter. It has nothing to do with your sexual side on the back of the horse. You're competing just like anybody else.
It's really interesting to see at the end of the day when we're kind of shutting down after rodeo, you see everyone washing horses, cleaning feed. It just takes me back to when I was a kid to think with my mom and my dad and watching all the other cowboys. That's exactly what you do at the end of the day. But just because I have a male partner doesn't mean that I don't care for my animals the same way and I don't rodeo the same way. If you got those skeptics out there to come watch this, they'll be like, oh, that's pretty cool.
God created us all the same. That's how God made you. Yeah. That's how you want to be. That's how you want to be.
COVID-19 has ravaged the restaurant industry, including LGBTQ safe spaces. New York's only black-owned gay bar has been pushed to the brink, and without the support of the community, it could be closed for good.
Well, Alibi Lounge is the only gay, black-owned LGBT establishment in Manhattan. So we've been open for 4 years. It's very easy to find. There are 2 big rainbow flags floating at the door. I wanted to serve the community. You understand? I wanted to open a safe haven, close to home, for the people of color living, because you gotta admit it, Harlem, the Bronx, Washington Heights are mostly people of color. And I wanted to make sure that they knew that there was a space close to home that was for them and that was by them, pretty much. For me, if another LGBT person of color could see there was a successful business, a successful small business, that remained open, it could be an inspiration for someone to not to open another bar, but but maybe a LGBT nail salon, to create a vital business community owned by people of color. I wanted people to see that you could actually achieve success in owning a business for the impact that you have on the community. Also, we were forced to close down exactly on March 16th. Unfortunately, we still have expenses running in 3 months of 0 revenues. But meanwhile, we still have to pay everything you can imagine that keeps running. Financially, it is extremely hard. It's extreme hardship for small business owners. I set up the GoFundMe page, and for about a month, nothing happened until I met a young man who came and was looking for a job, for mentorship, into actually opening his own business. And then I mentioned the GoFundMe page. I said, well, I tried this thing. And he took his phone, like kids do, and he said, you have a GoFundMe link. Let me take a look. And the rest is history. Not only we reached our goals, and then we reached again our goals, and we surpassed our goals. I couldn't be happier. I leave my house, I'm happy, I go to Alibi, I open the doors, even cleaning has become fun, It's a humbling experience. Nothing like that has ever happened to me before, I have to say. Nothing, ever.
The concept of masculinity is more fluid than ever, and that's a good thing. So we talked to activist Teek Milan about what it means to be a man of your own design.
When it comes to creating my own masculinity, I was constantly looking for these blueprints of masculinity. And I'll be honest, no offense, those blueprints sucked. I don't want my masculinity to be threatened by the color pink, or because I cry, or because I'm scared. When I take away who I'm competing with, or who I'm better than, who I can control, what I can possess, what is left of my manhood? How do I define myself for myself? So that's where it started for me. I say I'm a man of my own design. I think one of the big misconceptions that people have is that us being transgender is us like hiding something from some people, like deceiving people. I don't owe you an explanation. I don't have to tell you my medical history. I don't have to tell you anything, right? But people it seems like so many folks feel like transgender people are obligated to tell them like the first thing out of their mouth, hey, I'm Teek Milan, I'm transgender, how are you? And the thing is that kind of thinking, it starts to result in violence against trans folks.
It's one thing to have to, to deal with violent systems because you're black, and then also having to deal with these violent systems because you're black and you're trans. Transgender people are 7 times more likely to experience police brutality than non-transgender people. 7 times more likely. And 50% of all Black trans people have had some kind of relationship with incarceration and with police. So it's like we have to call in like our cis and straight community members and brothers and sisters and siblings to stand up for us and to take up some space. One thing that's really unique about this time is just the massive mobilization that we're seeing just all over the world. And here in New York particularly, it just really has been something to witness and to be a part of. But just like with the Stonewall Riots, people took to the streets, they were rioting, folks were fighting the police, and we saw some real structural change. It's important for the movements that's happening now to look at these really like radical times of events that have happened in our past and take some cues from them. What happened? How did we do it? It was consistent. It was keeping pressure on them. It was really pushing for policy change as the culture was changing. This is why this is important. If we weren't in the streets the way we were, we would not be having these conversations. Having conversations around homophobia and transphobia within the Black community is a touchy subject. But the thing is that, nobody is comfortable right now. Nothing is normal right now. But on the other side of being uncomfortable is change.
Coming up,
there are 70 countries in the world that criminalize same-sex intimacy. And our goal is to find the means to get them a pathway to living a life free from persecution.
the fight for LGBTQ rights has come a long way in this country, but for many around the world, being anything but straight and cisgendered is still very dangerous. That's why this organization is working to bring those at risk to safety on the Rainbow Railroad.
There are 70 countries in the world that criminalize same-sex intimacy. Some of these laws range from imprisonment to death. This is pervasive in all regions of the globe, whether it's Eastern Europe, where we saw the really brutal crackdown in Chechnya, or Russia's anti-gay propaganda law, or Indonesia, where people were whipped publicly. For members of the LGBT community, there are places where just being yourself immediately puts you in danger. They are just trying to survive day by day. My name is Kamali Powell, and I am the executive director of Rainbow Railroad. Rainbow Railroad has helped over 800 people find safety. Thousands of individuals every year come to us with stories of persecution, and in many cases are in imminent danger because of their sexual orientation or gender identity. And our goal is to get that person to safety. We actually arrange the transportation and find the means to get them from their country of persecution to their new country of resettlement, and hopefully a pathway to living a life as their authentic selves, free from persecution. Our work is fueled by brave human rights defenders on the ground. We are a powerful example of what happens when the community rallies together. We are trying to get this work done by any means necessary. The problems internationally needed attention, and that's where Rainbow Railroad was formed. We don't have a say on where we are born and what circumstance we live in, but I think we all want the same rights and freedoms. Even though the world can look incredibly bleak, there's a lot of hope. When we band together as common citizens, we can literally save lives.
Coming up,
we got some freedoms, but we ain't got them all, so we got to keep marching till we do. I'm Opal Lee. I'm a 93-year-old, and I'm reaching for my 94th birthday in October. And I'm on a mission to make Juneteenth a national holiday. And I think I'm getting there. I'm pretty close.
Opal Lee, it is so good to meet you. For years, you've been marching 2.5 miles in cities across the country in order to raise awareness. Why 2.5 miles?
Because slaves didn't know they were free for 2.5 years after the emancipation. We got the news late when the General Granger came to Galveston with General Order number 3 that said all slaves were free. We started celebrating, and we've been celebrating ever since.
And what does it feel like when you march and people in these cities and small towns join you in pushing for this cause?
You should see the faces. It's like an aha moment when they actually learn about Juneteenth and learn about slaves not knowing that they were free. Of course, we got some freedoms, but we ain't got them all. So we got to keep marching till we do.
Talk about the Black Lives Matter movement and what you've seen in just the past few weeks.
People have simply not accepted us. Black lives do matter, and they're trying to make people understand. We are people who want the same things you want for your families. We matter. Our children matter. Our education, our health, all of these things matter, and we want you to know it. So we'll keep marching until you do understand it. We just got so much work to do, you know? And Juneteenth symbolizes this. I see Juneteenth as a unifier.
June is known also as being Pride Month. In what ways do you think that message of rights for the LGBTQ community is at all connected to the rights of Black Americans?
We need to accept them just like we do all other people. They are human beings. I just want people to come together and understand that we can get more done than we're doing separately. If they understand that we all bleed red blood, we all are sisters and brothers under the skin, and if we would just get that into our skulls. My thing is, we've got to come together and put these things aside and make this a country that everybody will be proud of.
That is powerful to hear you say those things, and our show More in Common, that's kind of what we've been trying to say. You've said it better than I ever could, and you've been fighting for it far longer than I ever have. So it's powerful to hear your message in that sense that we have more in common than we think, and appreciate it deeply, this chance to chat with you. It's really been an honor.
Thank you, sir, for having me.
Thanks so much for watching our show, and be sure to celebrate Pride in the days ahead.